ask you, how are you doing today and how is work going on in this quarantine?
So not bad. I would say like as a human, I'm improving every day, like how to work remotely and be effective at work. I think it's a new learning. It's a tough time and a good time too. There's a lot of learning coming the way, and we are trying to learn how to work without being in office and how we can work more efficiently day by day. I think it's a good learning time. That's how I'm taking it. But yes, like sitting inside the house for a more time, being passionate about traveling outside is tough for me, but still I'm able to manage. And yes, busy in work, that's how the life is all about. How about you, Chinmay?
Going great, Anupam. Thank you so much. But yes, the same thing. We all want to be out soon, but we know that it is not something that we can expect to go away soon. So we would have to get adjusted to this new life, to this new normal that we call, and make the best use of it. And new practices, upskill ourselves is what I'm trying to do as well.
Okay, great.
Right. So, Anupam, we have a few questions for you today. So, this is for everybody right now who's very confused whether they should be looking for a job or whether they should hold on, or if at all they are getting a job offer and it is something that they do not want, should they really take it up? And a lot more questions around this area. Yeah. So, I'll just give you the topic of today is why you should or should not seek a job change in this market. So I will start with your first question, Anupam.
Okay.
So how do you think the job landscape will change if the lockdown continues for too long?
So that's a very interesting question, Chinmay, and thanks for asking this question because most of the professional at the moment have this question in their mind. And it's really very important to understand how the landscape is going to change because after post-COVID, we'll be referring to two eras. Basically, it's before COVID and after COVID. And after COVID, a lot of things going to change. So it's very important to understand to define the changes in the industry first to understand what the impact on the industry. Then we can talk about the changes in the industry, right? So there are two types of impact that COVID has brought in the industry. One is a good impact and what is not so good impact, right? So let's talk about some of the industries which are impacted not in a good mean, like aviation. You can see like all the aviation industry is going down because of no flights, no passengers, salaries are paid to all the pilots, all the crew members, everyone, right? Similarly, agriculture, because all the migrant laborers are heading to their cities and they don't have a local help to get the
Yes.
agricultural thing done. And similar way, all the big superstores, they are having the same challenges. Looks like we are back in that era in our city, in our town, when we had the individually owned shop of what we used to call kirana, and that culture is back, right? So superstores are impacted. Similarly, the automobile industry is impacted because of the manufacturing dependency and the dependency from the raw material which was coming imported from some other countries like China and other countries. Where a huge dependency on the raw materials, right? Similarly, like other manufacturing industries are highly impacted given this raw material availability, and we are not able to import them from those areas which are highly infected from COVID, right? That another industry what I could see like really impacted with that is the real estate industry, right? Like real estate is going down. So though like sometimes people are willing to accept that, but yes, that's how it is. It's going down, and possibly sometimes the small, medium scale businesses are also going down if they are not keeping themselves hygiene, because that's the revolution for SMB particularly. If they're not able to keep themselves hygienic and they are not able to create that environment, so today's customer is very cautious about those things. So they are not going to go in that shop, right? So it's a challenge for them, a new learning for them. If they're not able to come up with that, then it's going to be a tough time for them too. And also like because many of these industries have their impact on IT service industry, because many of these industries have their projects going on in IT service industries, and that's why many of the IT service industries also impacted because of that. And all this may result in sometime like salary deduction, salary cut, and layoff, and job cutting. It could be any side of it, right? So these are some of the industry which has not as good impact as a good impact. I would say bad impact given the COVID situation. But on the contrary, we have a few industries who have the business, the kind of business they are into, it has picked up because of COVID. Eventually, initially, we have seen like e-commerce is going down because it's all banned, like all their supply chain is stopped going moving to door to supply and those things. But eventually, if you look at situation, this is the only industry which will come up in big way next time, because people may not want to go in a crowded area, rather they want to bring something to home, sanitize that, disinfect that, and use it. The few more procedures and steps will be added after picking up any e-commerce packet from the delivery boy. But yes, that would be the preferred way. So this industry will pick up. And definitely like in entertainment industry, right? Like given the COVID time, you could see the consumptions of all the content on OTT, Netflix, Amazon Prime. It has gone up like anything. So that industry is really booming. And that's what I would say, like, if I can talk about the company I am in, TiVo, we are into entertainment industry. And yes, like for us, content consumption has gone up in the last couple of weeks more than 50%. So,
Oh,
so that industry is coming up well, and definitely given this pandemic situation we are into, the pharma and biotech industry will grow. IT product companies, somewhat I feel like if they haven't overspent in past few years, and they did some miscalculation in R&D and other areas, then I think they are safe. Otherwise, you could also see some cuts over there. May not be the direct cut, but some sort of like given unpaid leaves and or salary cuts for 10%, 5%, those things you can see.
right.
Banking and insurance sector, they will grow given the situation here.
Yes.
Fintech will also grow because the banking will grow.
Yeah.
So this is the industry impact. I could talk about like which industry will go up, which industry will go down, and how the entire industry looks like from the COVID perspective, right?
Right.
And this is the industries which are going to change the game plan. So if agriculture has to be done differently, given such situation again, so they really have to improvise on those things. So a lot of automation may kick in agriculture. A lot of automation may kick in superstores, where the lesser human contacts are there, right? So we might say like billing store, the long queue. So there could be possibility people can buy shop and they can pay online, buy mobile. So the lot of innovation that will come in these sectors who are really impacted because of COVID, and definitely innovation will continue to grow in the sector because they have where the positive impact you could see. So this is how I see the landscape across industries. Like this is how it's gonna grow and work it out in the near future. So
Right. That's great. That was very detailed and insightful. So I would like to ask you the second question for the day, which is this the right time? What do you feel? Is this the right time to be searching for a job, or do you think we should all wait it out? What is your opinion on this?
see, in my it's my personal opinion. Looking at the news industry, like I'm following very closely all the industry, who is going up, what is going down, how it's working out. So how the industries are moving, like who are impacted badly. So definitely they are in crunch of funds. So they are doing the job cuts, laying off employees and those things. So those things are there. And because of that happening, there are a large pool of people. It could be skilled and unskilled people. Like they are large pool of people who are available to deploy and can be employed on immediate basis in the market already.
Yeah.
Right? Versus the people who are already settled in their current companies.
Yes.
So right now, if you talk about the layoff, is not a regular layoff where we lay off bottom 5%. It's a layoff what we do depending on the cost, more of the skill.
Yeah.
Right, and the need in that particular project if they cannot be redeployed some other product, right? So looking at all these scenarios, I think job, having a thought of changing the job, I think people should start thinking a little conservatively, I would say, and not be so open and gaga about that. And people should really start looking in the market, because there are a lot more other people who are already waiting for the job. An employer may want to look at some low-hanging fruits and people who are easily available, immediately available, at a lesser cost available.
Yes.
Because, right, so those things are there. So I would say just wait and watch if possible. If something is not really going bad with you in your present company, so my recommendation would be to wait till Q3, which is around August, September, and see how the market is trending. I think then probably you can take a decision what should be done next.
Right.
So I would say like beginning of Q4, end of Q3, we'll have much more clearer picture what's happening, what's going to happen with the industries who are having a plus and bad and good impact, and then accordingly we can take the call how we want to go about it.
Right. That was, you gave us a very clear picture actually. So yes, some of us may not be in the situation of, waiting out. Some of us may have the privilege to do it. So accordingly, we can take a call as of now. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So coming to your next question, recruiter's point of view of what should a candidate keep in mind before going through a virtual process of recruiting?
So the first of all, I would say like as a recruiter, we should first accept that we have to do the virtual recruiting.
Yeah.
Many a times we are not able to mentally prepare ourselves or not ready for that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Right. So first of all, we have to accept that yes, we are in the situation that there's no other option left but to do virtual recruiting.
Yeah.
With this acceptance, a lot more other opportunities that gets open. Right. So like choosing the right platform.
Yeah.
If you want to assess the candidate, what's the best way of doing that?
Yes.
How to make a seamless experience for the candidate as well as the hiring managers as well as the interview panel to make sure they do not see a difference by using the technology while assessing and evaluating somebody.
Yes.
Right. The second thing comes in picture, like as a recruiter, not using the platform, just not choosing the platform is not the only thing where we should stop ourselves. As a recruiter, I think learning the platform and knowing the capabilities and limitations of the platform is also equally very important. Because the capabilities we can use, many a times we feel, okay, fine, I'm the recruiter, I'm the part of the HR team, I do not know how to know a platform technically, and we leave it there. We depend on all the easy options and all the easy capabilities, what we can see and we can relate easily, and we use it. Many a times, any platform, what we see, we do not use 30 to 40% of features at all. They are just lying somewhere behind the screen, right? So as a recruiter, I think this particular time, it is the time to use those capabilities of the platform and knowing the limitation and have a plan to fill that gap where the platform is not able to cover it up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the fourth point here, I think as a recruiter, what we should be doing to make this virtual recruiting effective is not only ourselves mentally prepare and accepting that we have to do virtually, but we also have to make a plan, connect with the leadership team to understand and make sure our stakeholders are trained. They are also mentally prepared to get those things done. It should not happen, as a manager, like I cannot say hire decision until I see the candidate physically in front of me, right? There could be instance, okay, fine, I will not talk candidate, I will maintain my 6 feet distance, but on a grocery store, I just want to see him. So there are a different kind of people with different kind of perceptions and belief they are. So we have to start preparing those managers for those virtual recruiting and giving them sufficient training. Enforcing, sometimes a behavior is not adopted, then as a recruiter, we should know how to enforce those good behaviors, which can help in virtual recruiting, right?
Right.
The other thing what I have noticed here, like during virtual recruiting, like what practice we follow. We call candidates for a day-long interview process, right? And we think like similarly it can be done in the virtual recruiting and in remote interviewing. No. Sitting in front of a machine for a day long is not a possible thing. It's not a very easy thing to do. But talking to a person moving around is easy to do. So how we can break the whole process, making more efficient in a small processes, because a lot of dependency on the technology side of it, make it more efficient. I think that becomes very important because it is good for the candidate, good for the stakeholders, good for the recruiter too. Because we are not able to actually physically see those things, right? Yeah. And giving training to the candidate, interviewers, hiring manager, those things are there. Yeah. So from the recruiting perspective, I think these things, something as a recruiter, we should be closely following up and doing that. And there's another big impact, which is now like coming in picture. And I could see a lot of discussions are happening across all the TA heads, recruiters, board and forums. Like, how do we do with the offer thing? How do we onboard people?
Yes.
Yes, because a lot of challenges are coming in, right? So overall, that's again the recruiter's job to ensure the onboarding, post-offer follow-up and those things, right? So definitely a lot more extra effort that come in. Again, the automation comes in picture. Initially, it was easy to meet people, have lunch with them, have a coffee with them, have a coffee meeting, lunch meeting, a lot of things were there.
Yes.
But how we can do it more effectively given those options are not there?
Yeah.
Right? The recruiter should start thinking on those options.
Right.
Right? It could be a Friday social with the candidate, with the hiring manager, right? If at all that is possible. It depends on both sides of interest too. It could be a remote coffee meeting as well, right? How we can do that? Can we provide a good coffee, order some good coffee for him to sit along with the hiring manager sitting at home and have a coffee meeting at home? So a lot of those creative things that can be adopted. What we have not done in the past because we never felt a need of that. Those things, right? Similarly, can we create a platform where they can have an open communication channel with the hiring manager and the business, all the candidates in the market,
right,
and the offered candidates, right? How we can do that? Rather, depending on, okay, fine, I'm calling the candidate, hiring manager is busy on the call, the phone is coming, engaged. Candidate not bother about, and recruiter will never get to know what happened.
Yes.
So how do we fill up those gaps of communication, and how we make sure like those things are going well? Right, in terms of engagement. And similarly from the onboarding side also, like training hiring manager, training the team, like how important this person is in your team, what kind of a onboarding plan. Generally hiring managers least bother about sharing the onboarding plan with the TA team, but this is the time when TA as an expert, they can come up and say, I want to work with you about the engagement of the new hire for a month.
Yeah.
Right? Do a survey after 1 month engagement, do a weekly survey, how things are going, what we are doing, seamless IT support. For a new hire, the biggest challenge is to have information about what the employee benefits are, the reimbursement, tool access, and IT support.
Right.
Other than that, like every day-to-day work and tool access, the business can take care. So how we can see from the past experience, the most challenges, what we have seen, and how we can make those things solve seamlessly for the new hires. I think that's what a recruiter should keep in mind when just completing the whole selection process and onboarding a candidate.
Right.
In the virtual recruiting scenario, what we are in right now, and I don't know how long it's going to be.
Right. Recruiters have to really put on their creative hat right now. A lot of things that they need to consider is, it's very important that they consider a lot of other.
Absolutely. With the growing technology, growing market, the expectations are going high. Businesses thinking people should be creative to get the job done. The people who are not able to think, they might get obsolete over the period of time. And if recruiter doesn't want to be in that zone, I think they should keep thinking, keep using the brain, and being more creative, finding different ways. See, many times what happens, recruiter thinks this can be done, but they are not able to articulate, communicate well to the leaders, and they don't know what to say. So for those recruiters particularly, my recommendation, forget about English. Just make sure you have some content to present, plus and minuses, and what is going to cover. Keep those three things in mind and communicate to the leaders.
Right.
Good and bad we'll see later. But until unless you don't keep exploring new things, you cannot improve things. And virtual recruiting is not something which is an easy game to be in.
True.
Right?
Yes. So coming to your last and final question for today. So there are a lot of people who are in between jobs right now who probably left their jobs right before COVID started, before this lockdown. So what advice would you want to give for them?
So that's a very interesting set of people. They never saw it coming, and they are in the situation right now. Right? And given this, I think the couple of points I can share with them, what they can keep looking and keep gathering more information around to take any decision, right? If they already left the job, they are about to join some company, possibly their start date is being delayed given remote onboarding is not possible. The first scenario. Second scenario, they have resigned. They haven't joined the company, they're still serving notice period, but remotely, right? The third scenario, people who are thinking, they might get an offer, what they should do. And fourth set of people, like not in between jobs, but they have already joined a new company recently.
Yes.
Right? So these are four set of people, and some other things like these set of people especially, it applies to all the people. who are aspiring to change the job in coming future. But for this set of people particularly, they should be very closely watching and keep their eyes open in terms of the growing and shrinking industries due to this COVID, right? They should have very clear understanding which industry is growing, which industry is shrinking.
Yeah.
Based on the information they have from the future hiring manager or future leadership team, the work they're going to get involved in,
Yeah.
they should be able to correlate with the industry shrinking as industry which are growing due to COVID, and then see what could be the future scenarios. Have a comparative study of those kind of work with other companies and see what other companies are doing for that. Right? Keep connecting people in those companies, the future company you're going to join, and try to keep understanding their blogs, posts, and sentiments around that. It will help you understanding what's going on inside the company. Right. Keep a tap on the news and latest of the company, what things are going, and the best way to get it done is keep looking at investors' comments and then investors' news about the companies, like how they are predicting this company growth or they are predicting this company's success or failure in the future.
Right.
Right. The other way of looking at it, though, it's more of a speculation and based on perception-based data, which is the stock prices, but that also tells a lot of a story. So every time the stock price is going down doesn't mean company is doing bad. It's more of a perception. But like recent example, like Tesla's CEO made one comment and he had $1 million loss in the stocks, right? The stocks dropped by that. Sometimes it could be based on perception too, but it could be a one good data to follow to see like how companies are doing, how financial looks like, especially their quarterly growth and delta. That would give a good sense of product versus money earned data. So I think those sort of information, I think that's people should keep watching it, and definitely like Glassdoor is not a very good platform to see all the time, because many a time when people are frustrated, they come there and they write it. When people are happy, they don't even look at that platform. But I think in recent COVID time, if you can see some reviews which are most connected to layoff and those things, then you may want to look at it. I think, yeah, one best option, if you see anything alarming or anything get flagged like something which is not going right, you feel, so either you may want to keep an option B with you, or maybe if possible, then withdraw your resignation and stay back in the comfort position where you are in right now. Then you can try after again Q3. So that's how I see the situation. That's what I would like to recommend and suggest people who are looking for this kind of thing.
Thank you, Anupam. To all the questions that we have had, you've given us answers from all possible perspectives, from a recruiter's perspective, from any candidate who wants to apply, or what kind of various factors they need to look into. Overall, all of us really need to be creative right now and think what best suits the situation. Right? You have given us very great answers right now, and I'm sure everybody who's watching this will greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Anupam.
Thank you so much, Chinmay. At the last, I just want to add one more point here. This is not the time what we have seen in last 30-40 years, or maybe beyond that, right? So this new generation has never seen those things. So we have to be ready for a couple of things. Thinking out of the box, be creative, wear multiple hats at the same time, and see how you can be most efficient in your job. I think that will save you and take you really, really successful ladder in your career. So that's pretty much from my side. Thank you so much for the time and organizing this.
Thank you so much for your time as well, Anupam. We really glad to be conducting this with you, our very first session. And we hope that this information reaches more people and they are benefited out of it.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed discussion, and I hope it will help of you at least.
Yes, definitely will.
All right. Thank you so much.